2.
Originally released on January 21st, 1998 for the PlayStation, re-released with DualShock support on November 11th, 1998, and ported to the N64 on October 31st, 1999, Dreamcast on December 6, 2000, and GameCube on January 14th, 2003, Resident Evil 2 is more of the same, honestly. While we're now in Raccoon City itself, RE2 for me was always the one that was just there. It updated some stuff and set a lot more trends synonymous with the series, but even still, it's just there. Not any big differences to point out between versions this time around. Just know that the version of RE2 you should play nowadays is either the DualShock version or the GameCube version if you don't want to deal with multiple discs. So, let's get into week 2 of Resident Evil month with Resident Evil 2. Two months after the events of the first Resident Evil, an outbreak of the T-Virus has turned a majority of Raccoon City's residents into zombies. Leon S. Kennedy, a police officer on his first day on the job, and Claire Redfield, sister of Chris Redfield, encounter each other amongst the chaos and try to make their way to the Raccoon Police Department. Turns out, most of the police force have been killed, and Claire finds out that her brother is off in Europe investigating Umbrella's headquarters. Claire and Leon go to look for survivors and find a way out of the city while searching for an escape route. Claire meets a girl named Sherry Birkin who was told by her mother to go to the police station for help. Meanwhile, Leon encounters Ada Wong, who claims to be looking for her boyfriend John, an Umbrella researcher. As these characters continue to explore, they come across Brian Irons, the police chief who's a womanizer, psychopath, and a sexual assaulter to boot. He's been bribed by Umbrella to hide evidence of the company's experiments back in the mansion from the first game, but also to conceal their development of the new G-Virus, a successor to the T-Virus capable of mutating a human into the ultimate bioweapon. Speaking of, Leon, the poor guy that can't catch a break, has multiple encounters with Mr. X, a tyrant that was airdropped into the police department by Umbrella to collect the G-Virus. After encountering Irons again, he tries to murder Claire but is interrupted by a G-Virus parasite bursting out of his chest. Claire and Sherry escape through the sewers and become separated. While running around in the sewers, Sherry bumps into Ada. Sherry runs away, but in her haste ends up leaving behind a gold pendant. Alongside Leon, Ada proceeds further into the sewers, until they encounter a woman who fires at Ada. Leon, the genuinely nice dork, dives and takes the bullet himself. Ada follows the woman, and it turns out this is Sherry's mother, Annette, and the wife of William Birkin, an Umbrella scientist who created the G-Virus. Birkin became infatuated with his creation, and when Umbrella's agents came to collect it, he refused to give it to them. Birkin was then shot multiple times and left to die while the agents retrieved the G-Virus. Birkin injected himself with the sample he was holding at the time and turned into a monster that's currently looking for Sherry. Why? Well, as a built-in survival instinct, the G-Virus gives the user the ability to orally implant embryos into a person's body. If the person is blood-related, then the parasite will take over the host and mutate them into a creature similar to Birkin. If not, then the parasite will grow rapidly until it bursts out of the host's chest, similar to what happened to Chief Irons. That's right, people. In order for a G-mutant to infect others, it must commit incest. Not only that, but a G-mutant will need more of the G-Virus to sustain itself. A G-Virus sample that Ada finds out was in the locket Sherry was wearing. So, Annette set up her daughter with a way for Birkin to track Sherry, not only to keep him alive, but so Birkin could mouth rape his own daughter to make more G-mutants. Not only that, let's not forget that she sent her daughter alone to the police department with the well-known Chief Irons. Mother of the goddamn century, ladies and gentlemen. After Annette finishes her story, recognizes the pendant Ada was holding, and in a resulting struggle ends up getting thrown over a railing, Ada returns to tend to Leon's wound. Meanwhile, in Plot A, Claire reunites with Sherry but finds out that Birkin got to her and implanted an embryo. With no time to lose, our heroes continue on their ways until the four of them stumble upon an abandoned lab, because every Resident Evil game has to have a lab. Leon and Ada end up getting attacked by Birkin. After driving him off, Leon, the cutie that's too kind to have all this crap happen to him on his first day, searches the laboratory for something to treat her wounds. He is interrupted by Annette, who explains to him that Ada is actually a spy sent to steal the G-Virus, and the whole relationship with John was only a means of getting information about Umbrella. Annette is about to shoot Leon, but Mr. X appears and she runs off. Ada returns to save Leon, but is fatally wounded in the process. Her efforts are meaningless though, as Mr. X gets damaged enough to fall into a pit of molten metal. Ada says her final words and seemingly dies, leaving Leon to continue his search alone. Meanwhile, Claire runs into Annette, who's trying to escape with another sample of the G-Virus, but upon hearing Birkin nearby, Annette's ovaries quivered and she ran over to meet her husband, who promptly slashes her, almost killing her instantly. Annette, who needed to be taken to death's door to finally act like a reasonable human being, tells Claire how to create a vaccine that will cure Sherry and destroy the embryo. Back in plot B, Leon is setting up an emergency escape train, but Mr. X comes back now without his overcoat restricting him. A woman who is definitely not Ada tosses Leon a rocket launcher, and Leon takes down Mr. X for good. Meanwhile, in plot A, Claire reunites with Leon as the train is leaving and gets on with the vaccine in hand. Sherry is injected with the vaccine, which saves her life, but we're still not done, as Birkin, now mutated into an abomination, attaches to the train in an attempt to catch Leon, Sherry, and Claire. With them managing to stop the train, escape it, and have it self-destruct with Birkin in it, they all make it out okay, with Leon delivering a very infamous line.
Hey. It's up to us to take out Umbrella.
And with that, RE2 comes to a close. As you could tell, the story got a big bump with this game, and with it, the devs got a bit more ambitious. You are probably wondering why I kept darting back and forth, and that's because of the gimmick of the game, the zapping system. This game wanted to expand upon the idea of two playable campaigns by making each campaign more different, to entice people to play both so they can get the whole story. But they didn't stop there. They also wanted to make what order you played the campaigns change things drastically. Unfortunately, this system was not really implemented properly, and the only thing it managed to get right was replacing weapons that you got in one route with a different weapon. Besides that, both characters have to complete the same puzzles, even though the first character would have completed them first, get the same items in either the same or slightly different places. And to go back to the actual story in the story section, Sherry doesn't get infected if you play Leon A, Claire B, which I'm sure the FBI man that's been tapping in while I record this is happy. In terms of the overall plot, which, you know, they couldn't have predicted at the time, but still they chose to go this route with what they had, Sherry comes back in RE6, and the fact that she was momentarily injected with the G-Virus is a plot point. Also, in Leon A, Ada dies by falling like 12,000 feet, and she's supposed to come back in RE4, so yeah, no, I'm gonna go with Claire A, Leon B being the canon story here. So, we spent a lot of time in story, which means we got a bunch of gameplay to also go over to make up for it, right? Well, no, and this was what I was getting at the beginning of the video. The only new things are visual details and the zapping mechanic, and I kinda already talked about the zapping mechanic. Now, the visual details are pretty cool. Zombies stagger back upon getting shot. I mean, you know, they staggered in the first game, but now it's way more apparent. We're now in the city, so zombies are wearing more than green shirts and brown pants. Playable characters now visually show how hurt they are, holding their stomachs when in warning and full-on limping when they're in danger, which, you know, is a really nice detail to have, but the game overall is pretty much the same as RE1. You got the same fun gameplay, good old tank controls, you solve puzzles, shoot zombies, it's classic Resident Evil. The only other thing to mention is what you get for beating the game. If you play through any A and B scenario on normal, then you unlock the Forced Survival mode, where you play as Hunk, an Umbrella operative who was the only survivor after his unit was attacked by Birkin. With a G-Virus sample in hand, Hunk must go from the entrance to the sewers up to the Raccoon City Police Department's helipad. You have a set number of weapons and items, and that's it. No other supplies are available, meaning you do have to be strategic in this mode. If you beat the A-B scenario that's left over on normal, then you get the Gatling gun, a nice therapeutic way to turn anything into hamburger, and Extreme Battle Mode, a game mode where you must fight through zombies on your way to obtain 4 antivirus bombs, place them around the Umbrella train, and eliminate the zombie threat. It's a fine mode, it's pretty fun, and you can even unlock Chris as a playable character, but honestly I just prefer Mercenaries more. But finally, for the absolute masters at this game, meaning I've never done this and never will, if you play through the game 6 times and each time get an A rank, you will get the Tofu Survivor. It's just like the 4th Survivor, only you're a block of tofu with only a knife as your weapon. So, good luck. No more odd instrumentation or wacky tempo from here on. Now well-composed atmospheric pieces that have enough identity to not fade as background noise are going to be the norm. Do I even need to point out the front hall? It's the track that's synonymous with RE2. Besides that, there are tracks like Raccoon City, Secure Place, and all of Birkin's themes. The first malformation of G lays the foundation with sharp strings and bombastic horns. The second malformation of G has a more hectic feel to it. And the third malformation of G finishes off the trio of tracks with an orchestrated version, complete with an opera singer accompaniment that sounds like it came right out of Parasite Eve. Resident Evil 2 is sort of a second verse, same as the first kind of game. It ramped up the action and brought in more of the body horror, both of which will be a mainstay for this series from now on, and while the zapping system was a cool idea, it wasn't executed well. It could have been something like this. Character A would mainly be about clearing and solving puzzles, and in turn interacting with the environment that paves the way for Character B, which would have way more danger, hazardous environments, and not only new enemies, but more enemies as a result of Character A's path, seeing as most, if not all of the puzzles would have been solved by that point. I mean, this game is in the middle of getting a remake, and they already confirmed that the zapping mechanic is getting dropped, but I see the potential with this mechanic and would love to see the idea done a bit better. Maybe as DLC, but yeah, maybe not. At the very least, it is still fun to see what kind of different weapon combinations you get from playing through different scenarios, so again, there's that. Either way, that's all for Resident Evil 2. Join in next week when we talk about Resident Evil 3, the last game of the PS1 trilogy. Thank you all so much for watching, be safe out there, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.